Okay, so let's start chapter 8 in the module 4. We have finished module 4's chapter 7. Okay, so in chapter 8 it is a theoretical concepts, so no problem. Some of the important diagrams you will get, and through the diagrams some points explanation. So I suggest this chapter will be easier, conceptual based, and you can expect direct question from this, so that you can score better from the contents here. Okay, so now, so here the first is multi-vector processing. Okay, so vector always means it has a dimensional to in the memory, and it is a enhanced data type compared with the scalar. Okay, so now what do you mean by vector processing unit? We all know central processing unit like a CPU, floating point processing units. Okay, so here it is vector processing. So what do you mean? First, before we study vector processing unit, let's study what do you mean by vector and different specifications of data when we call it as a vector. So an ordered set of similar scalar data. Okay, an ordered set of similar scalar data and which is stored in a memory is called as a vector. Okay, so that means, see this point, first thing, let's take a memory block. Okay, so this is a memory block like this. Okay, so which has a different locations. Okay, so now in this we can store integer data or float data or character type of data, but whatever we store, it should be related to some order, like only integers or some part of data related to a student, next student, like that. There should be some order pattern, and the data should be scalar. Scalar means what? Only values, only values. So when it is stored in the memory, and how it becomes vector is, see, say for example I have stored all students marks of first IA, marks of first student in same IA. I am taking only one IA, first IA. Okay, so now what happens? See, this is what the storing last number, 70th is a last number. See, if I propagate in this direction, what is definite thing? I will get result of student one by one. So that means what? I am getting a data in some order. Okay, so if I don't follow the order of storage, say how in this memory of different locations, 70 locations, as we have 70 students in the class. Here I have stored a first student result, next I have stored a 22nd student result, next I have stored a 30th student result, like that. See, if I travel in the memory location, I will not get a ordered data. So whenever I will not get a ordered data, it is not called as vector. So vector means it should be some order and similar. Why it is similar? See, you can see all. What is definite thing about all? It is an integer because it is a marks. Second thing, they are related to some parameter called as first IA. Okay, and they are stored in the memory. Whenever we store such a type of set of data, we call it as vector. Okay, coming for the second definition, here is, so what we call it as stride. Please remember this definition, it's a very very important. Stride you may get in your competitive examinations. Okay, see, let me give some analysis which you remember from your CO or microprocessor subjects. Okay, here I have stored A, then B, then C, then D. Okay, so location number 0th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Now stride means what is a uniform difference between any number of locations, so that I will get in every location different data, every location different data. So that is called as a stride. See, now what I will do is I will keep stride as 1. Okay, stride as 1. What I will get? A, B, C, D. Next I will change the stride to value 4. Okay, that means what? Okay, so let me give some analysis. So 0, here I will keep 3. So please remember, there are substeps called 1, 2, sorry, 0th, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So 4th onwards, here we will get. See now, here I will store 35.6, value 35.6. Next 4 locations, 78.9. Okay, see now I will call stride as 4. I will call stride as 4. That means what? See, since we know float occupies, float data type occupies 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Bytes means locations. If I fetch data from 4 continuous memory locations, one data type called float value I will get. Another 4 locations I will get another 4 values. I'm sorry, one value but from 4 locations. So stride means what? What is the magnitude difference to get a new value with respect to old memory location. Okay, fine. You all studied in your earlier subject like a CO, microprocessor and all. So byte means one location, word means 2 locations. Okay, then float will take 4 locations, like that. How many locations it will take, that is called as stride. Okay, next, what do you mean by vector processor? See, the processing unit which performs all type of operations on vector type of data is called as vector processor. So what it includes? It includes vector registers, functional pipeline, it's a very important keyword, ordered execution of only vector data which takes place in pipeline manner is called as functional pipeline, specifically vector functional pipeline. Okay, so some of the processing elements, so you can call it as operands, okay, or some special operators. So registers for counter, so whether we have done with the loop or not. Okay, so such operations, to perform all type of operations we need all this. So definition of vector processor: the processing unit which performs all activities. What do you mean by all activities? Either arithmetic or logical. Okay, any operation in the computer belongs to 2 category, either arithmetic or logical. So that means whenever we perform arithmetic or logical on vector type of data, so we should get a solution that is called as vector processor. So now, what do you mean by activity vectorization? Converting scalar calculation into corresponding vector mode is called as vectorization. So converting scalar operations, may be arithmetic, may be logical, into vector operations is called as vectorization. So now, what all the vectors, vector operations we can perform is, we can perform pipelined activities, also we can perform SIMD, single instruction multiple data processors. These type of computers can perform vector operations. So what do you mean by what is the advantages of vector operations is, first thing, these are faster and also efficient compared with what? Compared with scalar processors. Okay, as well as scalar operations. Okay, so now let's see what type of instructions a processor called a Cray computer can do. See, it is a actually the definition is here, individual definitions are here. For that reference is this diagram. Okay, so what we can assume is, see, there is one function 1 and another function 2. So some set of values will be here in function 1, another set of values will be in function 2. So hope you remember one to one function, one to many, conjunction function, etc. See, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. See this, 1 to A, 2 to B, then 3 to C. So that means one to one function. Hope you all remember in our school days we have studied functions. Now, what are the vector functions? Let's study. Okay, with respect to processor, So there may be activity between two vectors. One vector belongs to function 1, another vector belongs to function 2. See now, whatever is in a Vj, okay, it gives its effect on Vi. Vj is one vector set, another vector set is Vi. Okay, so when we perform Vj with some operation, not all the time, it is a star means multiplication, it is some vector operation. Okay, two vectors, when we perform, definite result is they are vectors, means resultant is also a vector. See here the diagrammatic representation. See, one vector from Vj resistor set, then another is from Vk. When they both enter, they will give a result. See, I hope you remember school days explanation of vector. See now what happens. There is one football here. There is one football. Okay. Now person 1 applies energy in this direction. Person 2 applies energy E2 in this direction. Okay. So where the ball will move now is, see how, hope you remember. See, I think it will be easy to analyze if I write like this, exactly. Okay, now two vectors, when they operate in a perpendicular operation, so resultant will be in this direction. Okay, see now. So like this, force will applied and result will be this side. So that means what? Can you define? Okay, please concentrate. This is I will make it in a blue color. This is a result. Let's see. Can you define? This blue is equal to the direction of black? No. And this blue is not equal to the direction of red. It is a new vector which is propagating in some other direction. Same way, when Vj vector and Vi vector performed with some function, both will perform of what? Both will perform with next vector generation. So that is what vector instruction takes place. Next one is vector with a scalar. Okay, how to explain this? Very simple. Okay, see now the football is moving in this direction. Okay, there is one person standing here who is right now wanted to kick the ball in the same direction. So what he will do? He will not change the direction, he will kick in the same direction where the ball is already moving. So what happens? He is not contributed in terms of direction, he contributed in terms of force. Force is a scalar. So what happens? Ball will maintain same same direction, but it will go with more speed. Hence one vector which is already direction, one is scalar. So what we will get? We will get a new vector which is in the same direction but with a different magnitude. Okay, that is called as vector with a scalar instruction. Okay, next, vector with a memory instruction. That means what? Take a data from memory, perform some operation. Okay, so it is called vector load. So where it will get copied? See, simple. Register load means what? Take a data from memory, load onto register, data register. Now it is vector. Okay, what do you mean by vector? Store from register towards memory. That is called as vector store. See, let's see mathematical representation of these functions here. Okay, hope you can see now. When we perform operation between two vectors, it will result into new vector, that is called as vector operation. What do you mean by vector scalar? A scalar magnitude is multiplied with a vector to get a high speed or high magnitude, high force, new vector. Next one is vector to memory. If transfer a data from memory towards vector, it is called as vector load. From vector to the memory, it is called as vector store. Okay, now next word is vector reduction. So vector reduction means what? Its effect should be nullified. So that means what? If we remove direction from a vector, definitely it becomes scalar. Hope you all remember your basic definition of difference between scalar and vector. Scalar has only magnitude, vector is magnitude plus direction. If we eliminate direction from the vector, it becomes a scalar. See, here also both effect of both vectors, if they lose the direction, then it is called as scalar. See, now two forces face to face, okay, they will if they collide, they will stop. Stop means what? So it becomes only scalar without any direction. Okay, next one, gather and scatter. Gather means from memory a value is it is a scatter. From memory it is copied into multiple vectors. See, like this, same data, okay, it is the same data, different vectors v1 and v0. So data is 32, let's 32 in some number vector. So both here it is called as scattered. Data is sent out in multiple direction. What do you mean by gather? See here, there is one vector v3 and v4. Okay, this is v4. Now both will come and their effect is stored here, somewhere here. That is called as gather. So effect is gathered. So that you mean by, see, the effect of v1 and v0 is stored in the memory, is called as gather. Scatter means from memory multiple copies are given to, same copy given to multiple vectors. So masking means nullifying one vector. Okay, see, two vectors v0 and vm, because of some operation one is nullified and we have got a new resultant vector, just like this. Masking is equal to vector operation. Okay, okay, next how to access memory when it is a vector type of data. So whenever we wanted to fetch operands, okay, so operands, they flow from main memory, because data is always present in main memory, and we cannot perform on simple data registers like AX, BX, CX. We have to perform it on vector registers. So whenever we flow, we shift data or operands from main memory to the vector registers, it is called as vector access. Okay, so when a vector is accessed from memory, for that we have three schemes. One is concurrent, one is simultaneous, one is C bar S, concurrent as well as simultaneous, like that. Okay, now, so why it is important to have an access method? See, very simple analysis. A is an integer, okay, so then B is a character, then C is a float. Let me write this limit. See, now if I say fetch A means what? It is an integer. So what I have to say? I have collected data from two locations which are identified by A as well as A plus 1, because what we have studied in integer, it takes 2 bytes of memory. Okay, now what do you mean by character? Character means it's only one location, that means 1 byte. So what do you mean by float? It will take from 4 locations. For float it is a 4 locations, 4 bytes. So here, since the each data type has a different or a variable length, okay, we should be very careful how many locations we have to fetch and in which direction we have to fetch. See, I cannot fetch, I will show here, from this to next location. See this is a mistake, because I am losing actual one location from where C has started. So because of we should be very careful when we are accessing. Okay, so when we access the data from memory, we should have base register, stride means how much difference I have to increase, and length means how many locations we have to fetch. See now, what happens if I don't have any of the content? See here, let me draw. See this. Okay, only I will show with this help of float. I hope you will understand. Float first. See, A float A is equal to 3.142 pi. Okay, so how you all know, we need 4 locations to store a float data. So with respect to this access, A is a base address, this is a base address. Stride, how many locations I have to go every time, and length, to perform one successful fetch, how many locations I have to access. So that is called as length. If I don't know about 4, which is a float occupying locations, I may try to fetch 5, or I may try to fetch only 2, which will become wrong. So I should be aware about from where to start, how many to move, and how many locations to fetch. Only then I will get a correct data. Okay, so vector operands must be stored in memory. Okay, and the whatever the memory we store, it should be support for parallel access. So at a time we should be able to access it, because why? Vector processors are always fast. So if data supply itself is slow, processor becomes idle. So that should not happen. Okay, fine. Okay, CX, first type of access, C access, concurrent access. Okay, so concurrent access means what? At a time we will fetch, there will be time given. Okay, there will be some time slot given. During this time we should be able to fetch many locations to get data. That is called as concurrent access. Okay, so let's go for second one, simultaneous access. I have copied difference between concurrent and simultaneous. What happens in our day-to-day life? Concurrent and simultaneous, we feel like both are same, but really concurrent means it happens for some time, some period of time, whereas simultaneous means it's a instantaneous, means at some point of a time. See here, concurrent means some time, simultaneous means only exactly at that time. So that is the difference between concurrent and simultaneous. See how it works. There address is given, the address copy is given for each module. Hope you all remember from your chapter 5. Okay, so now what addresses we have to give, whether high address or low address. Next, so what is the operation we wanted to do from that? So whether we want to do only read or the write, like that, from which particular module we wanted to read. See, among data latch only one will be active, because I want to read some data from module 0 that time. So module 1 to module m-1 should be off. Okay, so data, it will move here and we will get a data. If suddenly I don't want to I don't want to continue with the data from module 0, I want to access data from module 1. So what happens that time? This line is disconnected because latch becomes off. So latch connection starts from module 1 towards the multiplexer, and I will get a output. Similarly, which module we want to access, only that data latch will be active, rest all will be inactive. So from there data will be data fetched. From the inactive, even though we try to fetch, it will not work. Okay, next, third one is what? Both concurrent as well as simultaneous. C and S methods are combined. Okay, what do you mean by S method? Here, just now we have studied synchronous method, simultaneous method. Simultaneous method means I can get a data from, see, M00, M11 as both. Okay, next, from the concurrent, any multiple number of processors can be active at a time. Even though they are active, because of this controlling unit, okay, memory control, any one will give the signal to the system interconnection, which is a crossbar. Hope you all remember, it was like this crossbar network. Okay, it acts like this. See, L shape. L shape means which coordinate, sorry, one second, let me draw clear. Okay, see, it is like this. So wherever there is a interconnection, create one circle. When we hit a button, so there creates a connection. So these two are connected. One side it will be memory, okay, another side it will be processor. So now processor and memory are connected. See, this is what the operation of crossbar type, crossbar network. Okay, here it will be memory bunch, here it will be processor. So any processor will communicate with any memory at a time. So once their data transfer is done, so stop that connection. So that means there is no direct communication between particular processor and memory. So their communication gets disconnected. So they will work separately. So this is called as C bar S access memory, which acts as both a concurrent as well as simultaneous. Okay. So next, multi-vector and multiprocessors. Okay. So what do you mean by multi-vector and multiprocessors? Are supercomputers what we are using are the purpose of scientific calculations, also engineering problems. It is not like our syllabus. So engineering problems means some astronomy calculations, aerodynamic problems, etc. So those will be little difficult. So in such situation we should have high performance computer. They should be very fast, accurate with the result, and the computer should support us to modify the programs, and they should be easily accessible. These all parameters will make a multiprocessor. Okay. So what are the architectural design rules we follow when we design the supercomputer? So it should maintain vector scalar operations in balance. So what happens if we go on calculating vector? So some of the scalar effects are very essential and they are going to be neglected or nullified. That should not happen. So we cannot always think the data will be in a scalar mode. So it will be in vector mode. So performance of interchanging between vector and scalar should not affect a complete system. So it should support scalability. That means it should support attaching more processors or detaching a processors. So it should not get its effect lesser, or it should not become its performance decreased because of attaching or detaching processors. Okay, even though we increase the memory, capacity should not decrease, capacity keep increasing. Okay, and it should provide always high performance. That is what we call it as supercomputer. Okay, next we have differences between mainframe and mini supercomputers. So mainframe computers means what? It is best suitable for mid-sized machines, and they are powerful microcomputers, whereas in mini supercomputers, also we call it as supercomputers, are more powerful than mainframes. Okay, between them more powerful is supercomputer. Their speed of execution is 10 to 30 million instructions per second, whereas in a mini supercomputer it is in terms of 100 to 900 million instructions per second. So where it is applicable? Best applicable small and medium sized business. This is applicable for scientific research and weather report forecasting. So these are less expensive, whereas the mini supercomputers are more expensive compared to mainframes. Okay, so this is what difference between mainframes and mini supercomputers. Okay, thank you.